Hey everyone, welcome to another series here. We're going to talk a little bit about the PvP mode that's been introduced to Marvel Strike Force. As we all know, the beginning of the match starts with you being able to ban certain units and then finishes with a final ban that can change the outcome of the game drastically. What we're going to do is we're going to go through the roster and give you 5 of the most important sleeper picks that you can have built into your roster that may help you overcome your opponent. So let's start with kind of the criteria we were looking for when we were talking about these. These are units that are not a hard counter. They're ones that your opponent may not be looking at when they're looking at your roster. And so likely they'll either enhance a team that maybe you've already built and had a member discarded, or they'll do something unique. Now, typically that's going to be things like blind, stun, and slow. These are the criteria that I think are some of the most important picks. Now, with one warning, you can't build a team around this whole premise exactly. So you don't want 5 of these sleeper units. I don't know that they're going to be successful on their own, although maybe I'll do some testing later on to see if these 5 sleepers can overcome a lot of the PvP. The essence is going to be that some of the units that we have that we normally pick from just outperform them by sheer overall power that either are on our roster or, more importantly, the overall effect they have on the enemy team. So with that being said, we're going to go into it. So looking at your roster, we're going to call this number 5 because he's probably an easier pick for most folks, okay? We're going to talk about Mordo. Now, Mordo brings quite a few tools that are going to help you. Now, if you have a opponent who heals each turn, his Demons of Denak are a heal block, okay? The most important skill that he has in his roster is probably Mesmerize. Now, you may want to put a T4 on it if you're going to use them on your Supernatural team. Otherwise, it's a blind. But the thing about it is this additional stun, that stun chance, plus the fact that it's going to slow and blind additional targets, is an amazing effect on a 5-man squad. So he becomes a staple. If you guys don't know, I run PvP tournaments, and he was actually a factor in quite a few either come from behind victories or surprise victories where maybe we didn't think that the opponent had drafted as well. So right off the bat, we're going to call Mordo our number 5 pick. We're going to get right into this, and we're going to go look at our next pick. Probably something that may not surprise you is going to be the fact that we've seen already her performance now that you've started building some of your roster up, all right? And we're going to talk about Proxima. Now, Proxima, the reason why she's exceptional and while she fit into most of your PvP matches as a plug-and-play character is because she's extremely fast. Now, one thing you're going to find is as you're PvPing, you may not have justified building her up. You'll probably do that when the full Black Order is released. The one thing I'll say is, so not only does she work as a controller, she can give herself higher focus with T4 if you need it. Her star throw is a 2-turn offense down when maxed out. Okay. And then finally, you have her amazing ultimate. Now, this ultimate, this stun, slow, and speed bar can take somebody out of a fight effectively for quite some time. And we all know that speed in this mode has come down to the determination of victory on more than one occasion. So Last Light, Proxima, your number 4 sleeper pick. When we get into it, we're going to talk a little bit about and I guarantee you when we get to the final 2 picks, you're going to talk about a surprise pick. So one thing we're going to talk about is the strength of Taskmaster. Now, Taskmaster, while I am not a fan of the way that he works in war defense, I think that war defense teams just aren't fun to play. He can tend to shine. Maybe people are using him on raids. I don't know that he becomes an amazingly viable unit with more gear and more stars. We'll have to see as the event progresses. Right now, we're in the early stages of his event. So, right from the get-go, he provides one of the most important tools that we talk about. So turn 1, he's well, let's just be clear. He's a reasonably fast unit. He's durable. He has the ability to blind multiple targets. Okay. Again, if you do the ult, you're going to get 3 targets total. So much like Mordo, the bleed for the extra damage. Okay, and then more importantly, on turn 2, he gets adaptive assault. So very similar to what we saw out of the Proxima kit. We're getting offense down. We're getting we're getting a stun out of this. So very similar picks and how they work. So having that offense down, having that stun, whether you get it on turn 1 or turn 2, these become actually really, really good units. Now, he also does have the ability to do quite a few cool moves. His block makes him durable. He's very, very durable. And then more importantly, he basically, is almost built like a tank in many ways. So a lot of tools in his arsenal make him an easy pick for your sleeper pick, right? Now, so we went through Mordo. We went through Proxima. We went through Taskmaster. Now, we're going to go to a very, very interesting unit, and we're going to talk about what I mean by kind of a utility pick. He's going to surprise a lot of people, and I think when we're going to talk about this unit, it's probably going to be the least popular of my choices here, and we're going to talk about Drax. Now, the reason why Drax is a great flex pick, a sleeper pick, is because of the fact that he starts with a first turn taunt. He enters the game with a taunt, non-reflexive, so it can be cleared, but you can size up your opponent's team. You can bring him on board, and depending on how well you have him built, he's going to be durable enough to take most attacks. Something that he can neuter is that CM Loki counter. It basically prevents your opponent from taking a team member off the board immediately. Drax is actually somebody we've seen people use quite successfully, and it has determined the outcome of a battle. So remember, guys, a lot of these picks were from observing you guys play your rosters, not me play mine. So some people have had them on high red stars, something to be aware of. He can counter like the CMs. He can counter some of the early fights. Paired up with Shuri, he becomes an exceptional tank. And we're talking about Shuri being that very common PvP pick for now. So the number 1 sleeper pick here, number 1 sleeper, and the reason why he's number 1 is because I don't see a lot of people using him, and more importantly, I think he's probably hard to justify because being a milestone unit, we're finding that he's locked behind some of the RNG that you have with orbs. So you may not have him well built, especially if you're a newer player, but I don't know that PvP is something you want to build around ever. So let's talk a little bit about it. He has something that's going to allow you to get behind taunts, because he's going to create he's going to create a taunt to apply to the enemy with the most damage, and then call 2 allies. So this becomes exceptional if you have anybody that can give himself offense. Up turn 1 goes before him. This does a lot of damage right away, and it's very, very powerful. Hence why it's one of my T4 abilities. EMP Punch is going to be a clear. The fact that it clears 3 positive effects from all enemies and then slow tech enemies, that's going to be exceptionally powerful against teams that may have picked Scientist Supreme or Minerva or even Shuri. So these are going to be what you're seeing in PvP as far as a counter. So he comes with an extraordinary amount of tools in his arsenal. He allows you to kind of use your DPS effectively early in the first turn. I've seen him on combos where he's wiped an entire team before they get to go. So there's a lot of ways to use him. It's a lot of fun. So we'll go through these one more time for those of you guys working for the recap. So starting at the bottom, we've got Mordo, we've got Proxima, we've got, and I think, again, remember, these are sleepers that you can plug and play at the end of your your picks and usually wind up with a win. We've got Taskmaster. We've got Drax. What's exceptional in that is Drax is really the only protector that does what he does and does it well. And then we have Coulson. So really quickly, remember guys, I do PvP tournaments every Wednesday. We may be doing some more in depth. The only thing I ask for you guys to do is download BlueStacks. You can follow me on my Discord. Discord is always in the comments on these videos. Please join me there if you guys have any more further questions. If you guys like the videos, make sure you guys like and subscribe. I'm Remenex. This is the PvP Sleeper video, and thanks for tuning in.